Hey guys, tonight we step quietly into a world where silence is golden and shadows dance softly on stone walls. You walk up the winding path toward a monastery nestled deep in the European countryside, the kind of place where time seems to slow, and even the birds sing a bit softer. Your shoes squish softly into the damp earth, and as you push open the heavy wooden door, a cool breeze carrying the scent of old books and baked bread greets you. You barely notice the grey cat watching you from the corner, its green eyes unblinking yet oddly inviting. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Also, drop a comment below telling me where you're watching from and what time it is in your city right now. I love hearing about your cozy little corners of the world. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You step inside, and the monastery feels alive yet peaceful, a curious balance between quiet worship and bustling daily chores. The walls hold centuries of whispered prayers and secret stories, but tonight, you're here to discover something a little different, the secret lives of the monastery's most unlikely employees, the cats. Those cats aren't just lazy loungers or cute companions, they are the unsung heroes keeping the monastery running smoothly. Your first sight is a black and white feline perched patiently by the food storage, tail flicking like a clock's pendulum, as if on duty for some very important task. It doesn't hurry or panic, but there's a quiet dignity in the way it watches the shadows for any sign of trouble. You realize this isn't just a random cat wandering in, it's part of a well-oiled routine, an ancient system where cats have roles, shifts, and responsibilities. You wonder how many centuries this has been going on, and more importantly, how did cats come to be such respected members of this quiet, holy community? The monastery's stone floors creak softly underfoot as you move deeper, your eyes adjusting to the soft candlelight flickering along the walls. Somewhere nearby, the faint sound of chanting drifts through an archway, but your attention stays with the cats, those mysterious guardians of the monastery's quiet order. Tonight, you will see history not just through dusty manuscripts or solemn prayers, but through whiskers and soft purrs, a tale of companionship, purpose, and a very medieval work ethic, one paw at a time. You walk through the stone corridors and catch glimpses of the monks going about their routines. It's prayer time, yes, but that's only a small part of the day. You watch one monk gently tending to a small garden patch. His hands dig carefully into the soil, planting herbs that will be used for everything from cooking to medicine. Nearby, another monk is copying out a manuscript, quill scratching delicately against parchment, the smell of fresh ink filling the air. Down the hall, you hear the crackling of a fire and the aroma of fresh bread baking. Someone's kneading dough, while another sets the wooden trays in the oven. Life here is full of rhythm, but not rigid. There's a calm order beneath the surface buzz of activity. And then, just as you start to think it's all human hands and voices, you catch movement in the shadows, a tail flicks. A sleek tabby cat darts between crates in the storage room, pausing to sniff the air before settling in a sunny patch on the floor. You realize these cats are everywhere, integrated into the daily flow. They don't just lounge around waiting for scraps, they have jobs. Their presence is as essential as the herbs or the bread, quietly keeping pests at bay and spirits light. Historians still debate exactly when cats became such trusted members of these monastic communities, but some records hint that as far back as the early Middle Ages, monks welcomed them as both companions and guardians. Their mysterious charm and fierce hunting skills made them ideal staff for places where food needed protection and peace was paramount. Tonight, as you imagine the monks and their feline co-workers working side by side, you might even feel a bit less alone in the quiet of your own room. You spot your first monk cat, stationed right by the food storage room. It's a black and white feline, sitting tall and still like a tiny sentinel guarding treasure. Its eyes scan the room carefully, flicking occasionally to a tiny mouse hole in the corner. You wonder if the cat really takes its job seriously or is just enjoying the free heating from the nearby hearth. But these cats weren't hired just for looks. The monastery's very survival depended on their skill at catching mice and rats, especially because these rodents loved nibbling on precious grains and scrolls. You learn that the cats even had schedules, rotating shifts to make sure someone was always on mouse patrol. It's funny to imagine medieval monks holding staff meetings where they discuss which cat caught the most rodents or which one needed a break. But that's exactly what happened. Somewhere between prayers and transcribing holy texts, monks kept surprisingly detailed records of their feline co-workers. In fact, you find out that these cats were sometimes given nicknames and even promoted when they proved especially skilled. One particularly crafty cat was said to have caught so many mice that it earned the honorary title of head rodent officer, not bad for a medieval feline career. Historians are still debating the exact nature of these cat schedules, because while records exist, some seem more like affectionate anecdotes than official rosters. But no one doubts cats were indispensable members of monastery life. As you watch the black and white cat lazily swat at a sunbeam, you can't help but smile. In a world full of solemn rituals and stone walls, it's comforting to know that even back then, there were moments of soft purring and gentle companionship. You step into the kitchen, where the air is warm and fragrant. A monk stirs a large pot while another kneads dough on a wooden table dusted with flour. But your eyes catch something unusual, jars of strange herbs and spices labeled in neat Latin script. One jar reads, Saturaja, a herb used for easing digestion and chasing away the gloom of long fasting days. You learn that monks often faced long periods of fasting or simple meals, but they still tried to make their food flavorful and medicinal. Their knowledge of herbs was impressive. They mixed chamomile for calm, thyme for coughs, and even used honey as a natural sweetener and medicine. Surprisingly, the monks were early pioneers in what we'd now call functional food, meals designed to heal or soothe, not just fill the belly. Some herbs helped with insomnia, others with digestive troubles common in damp stone buildings. There's also a tale of a medieval recipe for a kind of sleepy soup that monks believed could ease restless nights. It contained mild herbs like lavender and valerian, ingredients still used in modern sleep remedies. Historians are still debating how often such recipes were actually used versus being theoretical remedies recorded in texts. As you watch the monks prepare their humble but thoughtful meals, you realize food here was more than survival. It was a gentle art blending care, science, and tradition, all wrapped up in the quiet rhythm of monastic life. You follow the soft footsteps down a narrow hallway toward the monastery's small infirmary. Here, the monks not only tended to spiritual needs but also served as the community's early healers. Their medical knowledge blended herbal remedies with careful observation, forming one of Europe's first clinics. A small wooden shelf holds jars of dried plants, carefully labeled. You spot willow bark, an early ancestor of aspirin, prized for its pain-relieving powers. Nearby, preparations of comfrey and marshmallow root promise soothing balm for wounds and coughs. Interestingly, the monks practiced a mix of science and superstition. They believed certain ailments could be eased not only by herbs but by prayers and rituals. For example, a faint line in a manuscript suggests they sometimes blessed herbs before use, hoping to boost their healing power, a practice historians are still debating. One fascinating story you hear is about a rare treatment for headaches involving a mix of crushed rose petals and a bit of honey, rubbed gently on the temples. It might sound quaint now, but it was a cherished remedy passed down through generations. The infirmary isn't just a place of healing but a quiet sanctuary where monks cared for each other and travelers alike, blending compassion with careful study, a peaceful refuge in a world often harsh and unpredictable. You're assigned to the scriptorium and stumble upon pawprint annotations. The scriptorium is quieter than a snow-covered field at dawn. You can almost hear the dust settle as you enter. Rows of wooden desks stretch across the narrow hall, and each desk carries a neat stack of parchment, sharpened quills, and a small ink pot, black as midnight tea. Candlelight flickers just enough to read, not enough to stay awake. You're handed your tools by Brother Alan, a thin monk whose beard is more impressive than his voice. He points you to a spot beneath a narrow window, where sunlight pools like a golden bookmark. You'll be working on the Gospel of Luke, he says. Try not to sneeze on it. Charming. As you settle in and unroll a sheet of parchment, you notice something odd in the margin. It's not a word. It's not even Latin. It's a smudge. No, wait. You squint. There, just next to a line about healing the sick, is a tiny, unmistakable cat paw print. Ink stamped, smack in the middle of the margin like a royal seal. You blink, then you chuckle. At first, you assume it's a one-time accident. Maybe a curious feline wandered in one night. But as the day unfolds and you work through more pages, you start spotting him everywhere, little inky paw prints dotted between verses, margins, even once across the title page. Some are faint, like soft whispers. Others are bold, as though the cat had proudly marched through fresh ink with no regrets. Brother Alan notices your amusement. Ah yes, he says, adjusting his spectacles. That would be Gregory. Well, Gregory the First. There have been several Gregorys, you ask, barely suppressing a laugh. He nods solemnly. All of them are terrible scribes. But excellent morale. You ask if anyone ever tried to keep the cats out of the scriptorium. Brother Alan looks genuinely offended. They are sacred assistants, he says. Besides, a few paw prints are better than one mouse nibbling on the Gospels. You suppose he's right. As the afternoon light tilts, you find yourself noticing more than just paw prints. There are tiny ink blots that look suspiciously like swiped tails. A torn corner that someone's clearly chewed. One parchment even has a faint indentation, like a cat had slept on it, pressing its warm little body into holy words. It's strangely moving. In a world of candles, silence, and scribes, these traces of cats feel like breath marks. Reminders that even in the most sacred spaces, life pads through on soft paws. You begin to wonder what these cats saw. Did they curl around monks' ankles during winter storms? Did they stretch lazily beside psalms? Did they meow during the matins? Historians, you later learn, debate the role of animals in monastic life. Some argue cats were simply practical, brought in for pest control. Others insist their presence became symbolic, guardians of quiet, whiskered keepers of contemplation. You think perhaps it was both. As the bell rings for supper and you roll up your last scroll, you glance down at the desk one final time. There, hidden in the bottom right corner, is a set of 3 tiny paw prints, side by side. You don't brush them off. You ink your quill, lean down, and write next to them, in your best script, co-scribed by Brother Whiskers, assistant to the assistant. You're pretty sure it's not canon. But then again, not all history is. You go to the kitchen to learn bread making and discover the cat always arrives before you. The kitchen, you quickly learn, wakes up before the bells do. Even before the first psalm is whispered, before the sunlight melts the frost from the cloisters, the kitchen is already alive. You can hear it before you see it, wooden spoons clinking in bowls, a fire crackling low and steady, the soft shuffle of someone kneading dough with half-closed eyes and holy patience. You arrive, bleary-eyed and dusted with sleep, thinking you're early. But you are wrong. There, already perched on a burlap sack of flour, is a tiger-striped cat with fur like toasted oats. She blinks at you slowly, as if to say, "You're late, apprentice." Her name, you're told, is Marguerite. Sister Beatrice, the monastery's baker and undisputed queen of yeast, points a floury finger toward the cat. She's been here since the bells were invented, she says with a wink. Knows more about rising dough than I do. You're not entirely sure whether she's joking. Marguerite doesn't move from her throne atop the flour sack. She just watches you with the unimpressed air of a veteran manager who's seen too many new hires. You nod respectfully. The next 3 hours are a blur of flour clouds, sticky fingers, and the comforting weight of repetition. You learn to fold dough inward like tucking in a baby. You learn that kneading is a kind of prayer. And you learn that bread dough, when it's ready, pushes back gently, like a small heartbeat. Every now and then, Marguerite jumps down to patrol the kitchen. She makes her rounds with quiet dignity, weaving between ankles, sniffing the butter bowl, inspecting the cooling racks with narrowed eyes. Once, you catch her swiping at a lump of raw dough. Sister Beatrice doesn't scold her. She simply moves the tray further back and gives the cat a small piece of cheese as distraction. She's quality control, Beatrice says. Also, she's a union. Can't fire her. Marguerite returns to her flour sack, victorious. By your second week, you've accepted that Marguerite will always beat you to the kitchen. No matter how early you sneak out of the dormitory, she's already there, paws tucked under her body, tail curled, eyes half closed like she never left. You start bringing her a little offering each morning, a corner of cheese, a bit of dried sardine, once even a tiny braid of warm dough. She accepts them all with polite disdain, as if reminding you she doesn't need your gifts, but she'll tolerate them. It becomes a ritual, this quiet morning meeting. Some days, when Sister Beatrice is busy or off gathering herbs, it's just you and the cat in the kitchen. The fire crackles low, the dough rises slowly, and Marguerite, ever the silent supervisor, watches from her post. You find yourself talking to her, even if she doesn't respond. "I think I'm getting better at braids," you tell her one morning. She yawns and licks her paw. "I burned yesterday's crust a little." She flicks her tail. "Do you ever get tired of mornings?" She sneezes, delicately. You take that as a yes. Later, you learn that Marguerite is considered semi-sacred. A plaque, faded and slightly crooked, hangs near the spice cupboard. It reads, Marguerite I, first of her name, Queen of Crumbs, Mousebane of the Holy Oven. Apparently, she's the third cat to bear the name. They're not all related, Brother Alan tells you one evening. But they all act like they are. You nod. It makes sense. Each morning, Marguerite watches over the dough, the fire, the bakers, and now, over you. She's not affectionate. Not exactly. But she's present. And sometimes, in the quiet rhythm of flour and fire, that presence is enough. One foggy morning, you beat the sunrise. You tiptoe down the hallway, clutching a lantern, thinking, this time, I'll be first. You push open the kitchen door. It's empty. The fire hasn't even been lit yet. You grin in quiet triumph. Then you hear a faint sound, a soft thud above. You glance up. There, on the wooden ceiling beam, perfectly balanced like a fuzzy gargoyle, sits Marguerite. She looks down, blinks once, and lets out a small, satisfied MRRP. She was waiting for you. You sigh. Fine. You win again. She stretches, jumps down with feline grace, and hops back onto her sack of flour, claiming her throne like the Empress of Wheat. You light the fire. She watches. The bread rises. And somewhere between the folds of dough and the silence of early morning, you realize something strange and beautiful. It doesn't matter who comes first. What matters is showing up, quietly, gently, again and again. Like kneading dough, like lighting a fire, like a cat sitting in the kitchen, every single morning. Without fail. You hear of a cat's promotion, and the monastery actually held a meeting about it. It begins as a whisper over lentil stew. Brother Luke murmurs it between mouthfuls, half laughing, half serious. They really promoted her, you know. From garden patrol to grain ward. You blink. Who? He gestures vaguely with his spoon. The calico, Fiorella, she's got a new post. You wait for the punchline. There isn't one. Apparently, in this monastery, a cat can be reassigned, officially. You find Fiorella the next day, napping among the sacks of oats. Her fur is a patchwork of cream, rust, and ink, like a sunset that got caught in a snowstorm. She opens one eye as you approach, then returns to sleep. She is, it seems, taking her new responsibilities very seriously. She used to chase beetles in the herb beds, says Sister Agnes, a gardener with dirt permanently embedded in her fingernails. But then last month, she caught 3 mice in the grain store. In one morning. That's impressive, you say. Indeed. We convened a small committee. You stare at her. A committee. She nods, completely unfazed. There was coffee, biscuits, a short agenda. Brother Thomas even brought his ledger. We reviewed her past conduct, very good, excellent work ethic, and decided she should be reassigned to a department more aligned with her talents. And that department is the grain. Exactly. Higher stakes, greater risk, more vermin. You try to imagine the scene, a circle of monks in scratchy robes, seriously discussing the career trajectory of a calico cat. You imagine someone standing and saying, "Let the record show that Sister Fiorella is hereby promoted, with immediate effect, and shall henceforth be entitled to double portions of mackerel." It's absurd. And yet, you can't help but feel a little moved. The next few days, you watch Fiorella at work. She takes her duties seriously. She patrols the granary like a tiny knight. She sits atop the barley sacks, tail flicking, ears attuned to every rustle. She doesn't lounge or sprawl or nap in the open, at least not during business hours. Once, you catch her chasing a moth with the focus of a general reviewing troop formations. She does not catch it, but the effort is noble. Brother Thomas shows you the official record. In the great, hand-bound ledger that lists provisions, expenditures, and miscellaneous notes, there's a full paragraph. Fiorella, having demonstrated exceptional vermin suppression in the outer garden, see entries for April 3 to 9, was reassigned to granary watch as of April 14th. Her transition has been smooth, and she has adjusted well to the demands of the new role. The note concludes with, weekly ration, 2 servings fish, roasted, no salt, small cushion, window perch, optional praise. You read it twice. She gets a window perch. Thomas nods. Upgraded housing. You look again at the grain store, sunlight streaming through a high stone arch, casting warm rectangles on a well-worn cushion placed precisely in the golden light. Fiorella is curled on it, like a queen in exile, content and dignified. She seems to like it here, you say. Of course, says Thomas. It's her vocation. That evening, you sat with Brother Luke near the courtyard well. The moon is rising, slow and silver, like milk poured over dark velvet. You tell him you're still not over the fact that a cat got promoted. He shrugs. Why not? We all want to be seen for our work. You look around at the cloister, so orderly, so ancient, so full of quietly eccentric systems that somehow make everything run smoothly. And somewhere in the middle of it, a cat has a job title, a performance review, and a sunlit corner of her own. Luke leans back. You think it's silly. No, you say, surprised at your own answer. I think it's kind. Exactly. He smiles. There's something holy in taking small things seriously. You look toward the granary again. Fiorella is awake now, seated like a sphinx in her sunbeam. She blinks once, as if acknowledging your gaze. And in that blink, you feel something close to reverence. Maybe it's not just a promotion. Maybe it's a reminder that even a life made of naps and pawprints can be a life of purpose. Maybe especially so. You observe how the monks care for the cats, like true pioneers of cat devotion. The morning light filters softly through the stained glass windows, casting colorful patterns across the worn stone floor. You wander quietly into the common room, where several monks sit cross-legged, their hands busy with delicate yarn. In one corner, Sister Beatrice is knitting a tiny woolen blanket, no bigger than a dinner napkin. It's a patchwork of soft blues and gentle grays. She smiles warmly as she explains, it's for Tobias. The cold mornings make his paws stiff. You watch as Brother Anselm gently places the small blanket inside a woven basket near the hearth. The basket is Tobias's favorite resting spot, and as if sensing the extra care, Tobias stretches luxuriously before curling up and nuzzling into the wall. The monks don't stop at blankets. You see little bowls filled with herbs like catnip and valerian, known to calm anxious felines. A small bell hangs above the entrance to the kitchen, which the cats have learned to ring for treats, a sophisticated system indeed. At noon, you notice a group gathered for poetry reading. Brother Edmund reads aloud softly, his voice a gentle river carrying verses of ancient praise and good fortune. It isn't just any poetry, but verses dedicated to the cats themselves. Blessings upon those who guard us in silence, he recites, eyes closed. May your whiskers always twitch with joy, and your naps be long and untroubled. You feel oddly touched by this ritual, realizing these men and women don't just tolerate the cats, they honor them as vital companions in the monastery's quiet world. Later, Sister Agnes shows you a small wooden box filled with tiny collars, each carefully hand-stitched with the cats' names embroidered in delicate thread. We mark each cat with a symbol, she says. It's a way to celebrate their uniqueness and role. You ask if the cats mind all this fuss. Agnes laughs softly. Cats are mysterious, yes, but they seem to understand love in their own way. They accept the blankets, the songs, the collars, not out of need, but perhaps because they even appreciate belonging. As the day fades into evening, you watch the cats settle down, nestled under blankets or perched beside their caretakers. You realize the monk's care is not just practical, it's an expression of deep affection, a bond forged through shared quietness and respect. You think about how rare this devotion feels in a world that often rushes past small kindnesses. Here, it's a daily, sacred practice. In the dim glow of candlelight, you whisper to yourself, maybe this is what it means to truly care. You sneak a peek at the monastery's ledger and find cat food expenses, officially recorded. The ledger lies heavy and dusty on a wooden table in the monastery's quiet office. You open it carefully, the crackling pages revealing neat rows of inked entries. As you skim through the records, expenses for candles, repairs, herbs, you suddenly spot something unexpected. Cat food, it reads, in the same clear handwriting as the rest. Below it, a detailed account, 25 loaves of bread, 10 pounds of cheese, 3 fish. You smile, realizing the monks have a formal budget line just for the cats. It's not a casual afterthought but a recognized part of daily life here. Next to the cat food entry, you find public affairs and candle repairs. The cat's needs are treated with the same importance as these communal necessities. You continue to read and discover that every month, the monks allocate a small sum specifically for the cats. The entries span decades, showing this tradition has been maintained carefully over time. You imagine the monks discussing this budget during their meetings, deciding how best to keep the cats fed and happy. The precision with which it's recorded hints at a quiet respect and accountability. There's even a note about special treats during feast days, suggesting the cats enjoy little celebrations too. This surprises you, monks, known for austerity, setting aside resources for animals that many would consider mere pests. But here, in this secluded world, the cats are valued. They are part of the monastery's fabric, woven gently into its daily rhythms and finances. You close the ledger, feeling a warm appreciation for this unexpected glimpse into the care behind the calm. It's a reminder that even in places devoted to discipline and prayer, there is room for kindness, small gestures that tell a story of companionship and respect. You discover the monks even write work reports about the cats. One quiet afternoon, you find yourself in the scriptorium where monks copy ancient manuscripts. Among their papers, you notice a small, worn notebook titled Felinus Laboris Notitia, Latin for Cats Work Reports. Curious, you open it and see detailed entries documenting the cat's daily activities. One reads, Old Toby caught 5 mice this week, slept twice, stole fish once. Another notes, Striped Jasper patrolled the granary from dawn till dusk, no sightings of vermin reported. The monks take these reports seriously, recording the cat's successes and occasional mischievous acts with the same care they give to their own tasks. You smile at the idea of a performance review for cats, imagining a meeting where the monks discuss which cat deserves extra fish treats or a cozy new blanket. It's clear that these reports are more than just records, they're a way of acknowledging the cats as valued members of the community, each with their own job description. The practice seems to have a long history, as the handwriting varies through the years but the tone remains gentle and respectful. You learn that sometimes the monks debate the cat's work ethic, a topic that sounds oddly familiar in the quiet halls of the monastery. Historians today still wonder how seriously these reports were taken, but to you, they speak of a tender connection between humans and animals, a partnership built on mutual benefit and quiet companionship. As you close the notebook, you think about how unusual it is to see such thoughtful documentation of animals in medieval history. This little book, tucked away among sacred texts, feels like a secret window into a softer, overlooked side of monastery life. You meet a scholar who studies monastery cats, and his manuscripts are both curious and gentle. One misty morning, as you wander the monastery library, you encounter an elderly man surrounded by piles of dusty books and parchment. He introduces himself as Professor Alaric, a historian dedicated to the study of monastery cats. He shows you his latest manuscript, filled with carefully illustrated cats, handwritten notes, and soft watercolors of cats napping in sunbeams. He smiles warmly and says, many historians overlook cats in their studies, but cats have never been absent from history. They are silent witnesses to centuries of human life. His gentle voice carries a hint of humor when he adds, sometimes I think the cats are the real monks, silently keeping watch while we pray. You flip through his pages and find stories of cats' contributions, guarding precious manuscripts from mice, offering companionship during long nights, and even inspiring poems. He explains how cats' presence in monasteries shaped daily routines and influenced medieval culture, though this side of history remains underappreciated. Professor Alaric's work combines academic rigor with a poetic tenderness, bringing the quiet lives of these cats to light in a way that feels like a warm embrace. You realize that through his research, the cats are no longer invisible, they are honored participants in the monastery's story. The professor concludes, in the end, understanding these cats helps us understand ourselves a little better. You leave the library feeling touched by the soft, curious way history can be told, through the eyes of those often forgotten. You start to wonder if humans have always needed a cat by their side. As the afternoon sun filters through the stained glass windows, you watch an orange tabby cat dozing peacefully on a warm stone ledge. Its slow, rhythmic breathing matches the calm rhythm of the monastery around you. You think about the countless centuries cats have shared with humans, not just here, but everywhere. They've been hunters, companions, and silent guardians. This orange cat's presence feels comforting, like a living thread connecting you to a long chain of people who found solace in feline company. You reflect on how humans have always sought a quiet presence during moments of solitude, stress, or prayer. The cat, with its calm independence and soft purrs, fits perfectly into this role. You consider how in a place dedicated to silence and contemplation, the cats provide subtle warmth without demanding much attention. Scholars debate exactly when cats first became such companions, but one thing is clear, this bond runs deep through human history. The cat stretches lazily, then curls back into a ball, and you realize you don't want to leave this quiet scene. You wonder if the cat, in its own mysterious way, understands your thoughts, offering a silent invitation to stay a while longer. For a moment, the world outside fades, and all that remains is this peaceful connection between you, the cat, and the ancient stones around you. You decide to write something for the monastery cats, even if they can't understand it. With a soft sigh, you find a quiet corner in the scriptorium, a patch of gentle sunlight warming the desk. You take a piece of parchment and dip your quill in ink, thinking about all the cats you've met during your stay. You write slowly, carefully choosing your words. Dear silent guardians, thank you for living quietly among us. You pause, imagining a cat's reaction, probably a curious sniff or a slow blink, maybe even a flick of a tail. Though they won't read it, you feel a strange comfort in putting your gratitude into words. It's a small way to honor their unseen labor, the mice caught, the company given, the calm presence in the hush of the monastery. You consider how humans have always found ways to communicate affection beyond speech, through poetry, music, and small gestures. The act of writing becomes a ritual, a quiet ceremony shared with creatures who have silently shaped the monastery's life for centuries. You add a few more lines, telling the cats how their steady watchfulness helps keep this place peaceful and safe. In that moment, you realize this letter isn't just for the cats, it's for you too, a reminder to appreciate the quiet helpers in your own life. You carefully fold the parchment and place it where the cats often nap, hoping they might feel the kindness, even if only in the air around them. You prepare to leave the monastery, and the cats seem to know, coming to see you off. As you gather your things near the heavy wooden door, a sleek black cat appears silently at your side. It walks just ahead of you, tail held high, as if leading the way. You follow down the worn stone path, the cat's paws making soft, almost inaudible sounds on the earth. The gentle rhythm feels like a quiet farewell. At the gate, the black cat pauses, looking back at you with calm, knowing eyes. Then it turns smoothly and strides back toward the courtyard, resuming its post as if nothing unusual had happened. You stand there for a moment, feeling a warm connection to these quiet watchers who have shared this space with you. Leaving the monastery, you realize these cats are more than just animals, they are humble companions, guardians of calm and comfort in a world that often feels rushed and noisy. Their presence lingers in your mind, a soft reminder that sometimes the most important company comes without words. You take a deep breath, feeling peaceful and grateful as the black cat disappears into the shadows, ready to return to its silent vigil. Now, the day gently fades away, and you find yourself drifting softly between wakefulness and dreams. The quiet sounds of the monastery settle around you like a warm, comforting blanket, each breath slower, each heartbeat calmer. The shadows stretch long and tender, wrapping you in a peaceful hush that feels like a lullaby sung just for you. Imagine the soft padding of paws nearby, a quiet presence keeping watch as you sink deeper into rest. Your thoughts grow lighter, floating like wisps of smoke that dissolve into the cool night air. The gentle hum of the evening whispers promises of calm and safety, carrying you gently toward a world where worries fade and dreams bloom. You are held here, wrapped in stillness and warmth, as if time itself has slowed to cradle you in this perfect moment. So breathe in slowly, breathe out even slower, and let your mind rest easy. Good night, dear friend, may your dreams be sweet, and your heart be light.